Everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Five Door Media Podcast, where we are diving deep into what makes home service companies thrive. This season, we are exploring culture, the people, principles, and purpose that define the heartbeat of home service businesses. Today on the show is Molly Moran. She's a high performance coach, entrepreneur, and founder of the Live Bright movement and Green Sweep, a residential and commercial cleaning company in Albuquerque, New Mexico. With a career that spans over nonprofit leadership, sustainable businesses, and executive coaching, Molly brings a powerful blend of heart and strategy into everything that she does. She built a seven-figure eco-friendly cleaning company while maintaining strong profit margins and an empowered, self-managed team. But her deep mission was born after personal tragedy and burnout, when she realized that success without alignment isn't truly success at all. Today, Molly coaches high performing women and purpose driven entrepreneurs through her signature Live Bright programs, helping them grow profitable businesses without sacrificing their health, values, or joy. Her work draws from behavioral science, including the tiny habits method, and is rooted in real world leadership experience. Molly is known for helping her clients create results that feel as good on the inside as they look on the outside. Molly, we're so happy to have you on the show.
Ah, Drew, thank you. That just like gave me chills. I want you to do all my introductions everywhere, every time. Is that
Hey,
okay? Can we do that? Can we
I
arrange
love
that?
that. 100%. I say there's nothing better feeling than someone introducing you on a pod. Yeah,
I
but like all those
know.
things are very
Wow.
true, and I'm very excited to have you here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, what have you been going on? What's been going on?
I've been we were talking a little bit before. I just wrapped up well, I didn't just wrap up, but I did a marathon a couple months ago and I'm back out on the trails running again, which feels really good. We've got a 6-month-old puppy at home who we think is turning the corner with potty training finally. We're hoping we're really crossing our fingers on that, but she's great. She's bringing a ton of joy to our lives and doing a little bit of travel and working, coaching, growing Green Sweep here in Albuquerque. So a whole bunch of things going on and
Love that.
really just having some fun right now, which is nice.
And you do have you're great at having fun. Actually, that's like one of your skills is like finding fun and having a good time.
Thanks. Well, I think that's one reason why we like each other too. But
Enjoying life.
yeah, enjoying life. Cause like, what the heck is the point otherwise, and I think, I use like fun used to be one of my primary filters about whether I said yes or no to an opportunity. And then I ended up, luckily having so many opportunities coming my way. I was like, okay, I need another filter just besides fun because there's fun to be had everywhere. And I try to bring I try to bring the fun to the everyday at Green Sweep. I have so much fun with my coaching. Yeah, fun is pretty important.
Well, I think you found out that secret sauce of like truly loving what you do. You're in it
Yeah.
to like have a career and a job, so to speak, where you love every minute of it. You've built that around, which is a part of what you do through coaching is like helping people find that and build that.
Yeah, and I would be lying if I said I loved every minute, but like it's a lot of the minutes. It's like I shoot for like loving 90 out of 100 of the minutes, right? So, and I get caught up on, I mean, and that's amazing if you can do that, but there's always certain pieces like that only the owner of a business can do, like getting like tax prep done or, other things that I'm not like, yay, like that's not
Yeah.
fantastically fun for me. But, I've really, for me, it's been an interesting journey because definitely hasn't always been that way for me with my business. There was a time when I did not like my cleaning company at all. I wasn't enjoying coaching that much because I was just working so much that I wasn't taking the time and space to feed myself very well. And so
Mm.
kind of went through this whole journey, whatever, and backed up. And I was like, okay, there is a different way. And I can still have big goals and big dreams and want to have big impact. I just need to structure things differently to bring more fun back in. So it's been a really interesting process. And I'm really I'm super grateful that I have like figured it out, and I didn't figure it out before I went like completely gray, basically. But I have figured out a lot of things that certainly make me tick, and I can help other people with it too. So it's pretty great.
I love that.
Yeah, thanks.
So this season, as I mentioned up top, we are talking about the topic of company culture, specifically
Mhm.
in home service businesses. And we've had a few guests on and we've had some really great conversations. And I've asked everybody the same question. I want to start at the root of it. How would you define company culture in a home service business? Like, what is the flatline definition in your mind for what is company culture?
I Geez, you said this wasn't gonna be hard. No, I'm just kidding. So, I think company culture is like I think of company culture as, um, the sort of the sauce, not necessarily secret, but like the marinade that keeps people working together, feeling being productive, feeling good about what they're doing, feeling seen for what they're doing in our company, having fun. It's that sort of connecting sauce or marinade in a company, and it's where it's got. It includes, of course, your values as well as what kind of actions you've got going on, a whole variety of things. But it's sort of the marinade that keeps everything cooking well. Or I'm not great. I'm not the best at analogies, but it's like it's the marinade. It's the sauce. It's the sauce of the company that unifies everyone and keeps people working towards the same goal and the same outcome and that sort of thing. I would say. I guess I would define culture as so. It's a set of values and principles in the marinade. That was a very long definition.
Well,
That's a very hard question for me to like
no,
define something specifically, but yeah, that's kind of how I think about culture.
I love cooking metaphors. That works. So tell me, you mentioned at the when you were talking earlier about there was a time that you did not love your cleaning company, right?
Yeah.
Or it was probably more stress than it was fun. It was like the juice wasn't worth the squeeze.
Right. Oh,
Cooking
there you
sure.
go.
So tell me about like, was there a moment where, or maybe a moment or a decision in Green Sweep's company journey that you think was the fork in the road? Or was there a moment you're like, this is the moment that's gonna shape our culture moving forward?
Well, there's not one moment, there's several moments actually. So it's a great question, and I think so I've had my company for 16 years, Green Sweep. So we've had a lot of different iterations of what the company is, who we serve, who our employees are, my personal involvement in the company and the day-to-day of the company, and back when I was involved every day, culture was not hard because I was in there, I was talking to the staff, I was making people feel good, I was coaching, I was leading, I was doing all of that. But culture becomes a lot harder when, for me, in my opinion anyway, when you're stepping out of the business and when you're scaling. So when you go from directly managing or leading 10 people to 20 people to 30 to 40, it looks a lot different with who you're interacting with and who you're touching. So I'm not involved operationally in my company at this point in time. I lead the leadership team. I know many of our cleaning pros. However, I'm not managing them, right? And I'm not involved in wishing them happy birthday, or I'm not in charge of. I wish them happy birthday. I'm not in charge of wishing them happy birthday or whatever it might be, or planning the company parties or
Mhm.
the quarterly meetings. I'm not doing that. And so for me, where I ran into issues with culture and with not liking my company or what, as I mentioned, was when I tried to step back and try to make and I didn't have like the systems and structure in place to maintain that kind of culture that I wanted people to experience, that sauce, which for me is about seeing people. It's about appreciating people. It's about creating like one of the greatest human needs, right, is to be seen and to be appreciated. And a lot of people don't leave jobs because they're not making enough money. Like we pay the best in our house. In we pay the best in Albuquerque without a doubt. And people don't leave jobs because of pay. Typically across the board, they leave because they feel like they're not making a difference or they're not being seen for their contributions. They're not being appreciated in the ways that they feel appreciation. That's why people leave jobs. And so when we've scaled, some of that stuff has fallen off or it hasn't been done the way I wanted it to be done. And then there's a breakdown. There's a breakdown in culture and then there's more turnover and then a breakdown in profit. And then I was like, what the hell am I doing? What is this company? So I've had that until I systematized culture more. Um, it was extremely challenging. And so there was a fork in the road about 2 years ago, actually, where I was like, okay, because I would try to hire people that held my same values to manage and lead, and it still wasn't necessarily the culture still wasn't where it needed to be, to maintain all the things, and so I kind of dove deep into it at that point in time and was like, "Okay, how do we systematize this in a more way and create." We've created something, we call it extreme appreciation and radical accountability. We have our ERA program, and so we've created it, and it's a part of everything that we do. And so there's radical accountability, but there's so much appreciation. And that's not just like saying, good job, Drew. That's like being really specific about seeing Drew, if Drew's a cleaning tech or our salesperson, for Drew's contributions in a variety of ways. So I didn't answer your question directly, but there have been a few forks in the road, and definitely a couple of years ago when I wasn't loving Green Sweep because we were struggling with this very thing. And I realized
Mm.
that, when you don't like something, you stop paying attention to it. You project negative energy on it. Like there's this whole ripple effect that happens. And so I had to change how I was thinking about my company and fall back in love with my company, in which I did, thank God. And I freaking love Green Sweep, and fall back in love with the amazing team members that work at Green Sweep, and create the system around culture for that sauce. I don't know if that makes sense. Sorry. I'm a little bit of a circle.
No,
Okay, good. I talk in circles a little bit sometimes, but you can get the point.
no, you're good. Yeah, and that your answer is like leading into like the next thing I wanted to talk about, which because culture as a whole as a company, it's the idea of scaling a business, building your freedom, and then systematizing culture is hard, because culture is not a product. Culture is not a service. It's not something you can like touch or feel or even like see. A lot of the conversations we've had on this series has been like culture is really just something you feel, and systematizing something that you feel is a whole different process than systematizing something you can like physically see and touch, right? Tell me about how you've done that, and I've like I said, in this series, this always gets brought up, like, how do I scale a business and keep that culture strong? What have been some of your strategies for that?
That's a great question. So a few strategies, well, more than a few, but a couple key ones. So for me, like the whole having part of our culture is appreciation, right? And and by appreciation, I really mean seeing people and making them feel like they belong to something bigger than themselves. And in the home service industry, cleaning in particular, most of our cleaners, they're working alone. So they're out there, they're essentially remote workers on their own for the day. They interact, via communication channels and stuff, but they're not in the office bumping elbows at the proverbial water cooler or whatever, right? So how do we
Mhm.
create that? And different than other remote workers who are sitting in front of computers like we are right now and we're connecting on Zoom, they're not doing that because they're doing physical labor in the field. So how do we create a water cooler, create a community of remote workers who are not sitting in front of computers? And one way we do that is through our communication channel. So we actually use something called, well, a few things, but one of them is Slack, which a lot of people are familiar with, and we
Mhm.
have a ton of action in Slack, like and ways for people to interact in Slack. And we've added in appreciation and seeing people, and we is it can't just be a top down thing. And because if it's just top
Mm.
down and it's just me telling people they're doing a good job, or the management telling people they're doing a good job, that's one thing, but it's the sauce, right? Appreciation sauce or whatever, like. And so it's got to be peer to peer. So we brought in another program, it's called Carrot, actually, and it integrates really well with Slack, and people can
Yep.
appreciate and do shout outs for one another, and they can give each other points. We, as a company, we invest in points and how much points are worth, and they can buy cool things with their points. And so everyone gets preloaded I don't know, 100 points at the beginning of the month, and they give them out like, 15 points to Drew and they give them out based on our core values at the company. So our core values are kindness, integrity, community, excellence, and growth. So they award coins based on our core values, and then they say something specifically about what the other person did. So it's crazy. Like, since we started doing that, it's so cool to see. Like, it's our busiest channel. I can't keep up with that channel.
Mm.
And they make each other feel so they are appreciating one another. They are seeing one another. And that leads to belonging, right? And so
Yeah.
that's one really specific thing that we've done. Um, that was your
I love what
question,
you're
right?
saying too. One of your core values was community. What you're talking about is building a community.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
connecting, but like really you're building a community, which is a core value of yours
Right.
by talking about community. You know,
Right.
it's
Exactly,
it's all
and
meta. Yeah.
it is meta, and then we do it. So and we talk about it in our core values. It's our internal community and our external community. So and then we continue to build
Yeah.
community. Like, we have, we pay our staff to participate in volunteer activities with us. With some of we have local community partners, charitable partners that we give back to. And hey, who wants to come out this Saturday and do the Pride Parade with us? Like, because we are the top LGBTQ business in Albuquerque, so of course we're going to be at the Pride Parade. So come on out, and we're gonna and yeah, we're paying them to volunteer, but
Yeah.
it builds massive community. They bring their family, or we go volunteer, do something for Girls on the Run, or a variety of things. So community is really key. And out of that, I mean, it's interesting. People are socializing together. And so we have all these remote workers that are doing things outside of work. And that's been a huge change since we've introduced this whole and systematized this piece of the ERA program. And it's not just, so that's definitely a piece. Other pieces that we've implemented, we have, for our culture, we have this culture of, extreme appreciation and being seen, but the other part is radical accountability. And so we do that and that is a top down, like, in terms of like pay and how people are being paid. And so, and their scorecards and all kinds of things. So we have a whole bunch of accountability built in as well. So they understand so our techs understand like where they are in the company, how they rank in the company, how they compare, because everyone kind of likes to know where they are in terms of like what's an A player look like. This is what an A player looks like, and this is how you can get it. So there's a whole variety of ways that we've done it
Yeah.
and systematized it. The Another component I would mention too is that we have really specific employee avatars that we're hiring for. And people talk about customer avatars.
You
Well,
keep leading into my next question.
sorry.
It's really funny.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
All
That
right.
makes you good. Yeah.
So yeah, we have employee avatars, and that's taken us a while to get to, because we are a very
Mm.
open company. We don't want to make assumptions about people. We always, like, kindness is one of our core values, so we seek to see the best in people. And that's not always the best lens for hiring necessarily. It's one filter, but there's got to be others. And so going to the next level and having certain employee avatars of what we're looking for, that's also really helped with our
Mm.
culture. Yeah.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, because my next question is going to be through the conversations that we've had for a lot of people, the best way that they have found to protect company culture is to make sure that the people that are being brought in are going to be the best possible fits before they even work their first day, through
Yes.
that hiring process.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, you said that was a difficult process coming up with that employee avatar. What were some things that you found? Or like, oh, you've got to have this, you've got to have this. Here's a red flag for people. Here's a green flag for people. Because I mean, hiring in general is weird because, of course, when someone's interviewing for the job, everybody's going to be their best, right?
Right.
But to be able to like find who they truly are, like we have different methods here that we give them test projects and things like that. But like, what are some ways that you've found? Well, first of all, like, how did you develop that employee avatar? Because you're the first person that has said that. But then also, like, how does that build into that actual interviewing process?
Yeah, those are great questions. I'm like, so I think a couple of things. So what we did, it was interesting because my HR manager and a couple other people on the leadership team were really resistant to this. And I was like, you guys, like, we have to do this. Like, so it took us a while to get there. And honestly, I would say a lot of failed hires. And and then seeing, okay, we need stronger filters here. Yes, we have good interview questions, but we need stronger filters. So what we did is we took data from the prior year of everyone who was on staff, as well as everyone we had hired, and they had not succeeded for more than 6 months. We put 6 months as the sort of minimum for a successful hire. A year is really more of a successful hire. But so that was our first filters. We took that, we looked at it, and then we started to dive into all kinds of like psychosocial and demographic characteristics about all those people. So the people who are with us, we pulled out psychosocial demographic info, like down to like what kind of car do they have, who do they have dogs at home, like all kinds of stuff. We just pulled out all the information we had and we looked for patterns. That's what we did. And then we did the same thing for people who didn't succeed at the company. And then we divided it by male and female is how we divided it, because we have lots of guys that work at Green Sweep, and we've had a lot of I would say unsuccessful hires for men, but we have had some very successful ones. But who are those successful men? And so we really dove into that as well. So we pulled the data, divided it by gender, and then just pulled out the best parts of those. Like, okay, so, and then we named them. So we have Hilda and we have Alex. And so Hilda, and I will say, like, this is a filter. It's not, we don't not hire people if they don't fit this exactly, of course. However, we think twice and then we say, well, why do we want to bring them in? Like, what's so exceptional about them? And then there's a reason. Our hiring manager has a reason for it that she then justifies. But, Hilda is, I believe Hilda's about 32 years old. She usually is partnered, whether like married or not, but has somebody at home that she is partnered with. She's not living with her parents, actually. She's living with a grown-up partner at home, and she's usually has at least one dog, if not more than one dog. She drives a like post 2015 sedan of some sort. She and we even went into like
you guys got specific.
Favorite movies. Like, we went down the road. And then like Alex, our male, is also partnered, also has dogs, usually I believe late 20s to mid 30s. So we went very, very specific. It tends to be more creative. Like, so hobbies are more creative than not. Alex's hobbies, so we went really specific. So now we've got Hilda and Alex, and they have names, and we can talk about them, and our hiring manager can be like, oh yeah, no, okay, but I really like this person, but okay, so why are they so great? And then there's just this other layer of filtering that basically happens. It's not around, we don't have it around religion or politics, because we don't even know that for half of our staff. We know it around like their beingness, like, are they kind people, and that's a harder thing to measure for in an interview, of course, but that's what we're trying to filter for. So yeah. we've gone really deep with
I was going to say, like, everyone's kind in an interview, but like, what are those little peek through the crack moments where you can see, like, is this real? Is this the real Alex? Is this the real Hilda that I'm
right
to?
Totally. And then from there we do our cleaning pros in particular, they go through 5 days of one-on-one training with one of our like highly trained training managers who is either a Hilda or an Alex, right? And so they're looking at in that 5-day, we actually think of it internally more as an interview process, still a 5-day interview rather than just a training. So they're looking at very specific behavioral things during those times. Like, if they're showing up late, like if they show up late, they get literally one pass. one pass because they should be showing their very best right then and there, and if they're
Oh yeah.
if they, so we're looking at certain things like that. Are they in uniform? Are they show and if they're not, then we cut them. We cut them early because it's just like it's not a good fit. So we have like several filters actually.
How long would you say your average like hiring process is?
From hire to
From
out in
like
the field.
first interview to like their first day. Yeah.
Well, we prefer people who have jobs, so it would take a couple of weeks because we want them to give notice.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's usually it's a minimum of 2 weeks, if not 3.
Some of the biggest things I've learned about company culture in my own company now have come from lessons of what to do or lessons what not to do from previous jobs that I've had. You do not have to mention companies. You don't even have to talk about specific stories. We're not here to put people on blast, but like do you relate to that as well? Like, do you have memories from, like, when you were an employee somewhere and you're like, "Man, if I ever owned my own place, this would be different." It's kinda like when we're kids and we're talking to our parents like, "Well, when I'm a mom or when I'm a dad, I'm never gonna treat my kids like this," or something like that. Do you have, like, those that can pop up in memory? Like, I had this experience, good or bad, at a previous job, and that has led to, like I mean, you keep talking about you really want people to be seen, heard, felt in that way. I'm assuming, and I'm opening up, it's an assumption. Have you maybe had a job where you didn't feel seen? Or maybe did you have a job where you did feel seen? And has that led to, like, decisions on leading your company culture what it is today?
That's a great question, and I think my whole, like, seen, felt, heard, like, appreciated, that whole piece is really about just how I feel about humans, and then the research backs it up, basically. So it's not of course I mean, I've definitely had crappy jobs, like, we've all had crappy jobs before, and I remember but I wouldn't s I'm like I mean, I had, like, the job where I showed up and I got fired. I did get fired one time. It freaking devastated me. It was completely out of the blue, you know? And so I definitely we don't fire people like that unless, like, there's something
Mhm.
insane that happened. It's never a surprise. It should never be a surprise when someone gets fired, right? But, like, that hasn't informed me as much as I grew up in a my parents were entrepreneurs, and they owned a country store. They bought it when I was 11 years old, and we moved from, like, the big city to, like, a town of 300 with literally no stoplights, and we lived above the store, and, I
Not
learned
even a one stoplight town, it was a zero stoplight town.
0 stoplights. We didn't even have our own zip code. We
Wow.
had the zip code of the town next door,
Oh
like,
my
we don't have a
gosh.
post office, so, yeah,
Yeah.
like, the joke was that, like, when the Morans moved to town, like, we could swing the vote practically because, like, the town was so tiny, right? But, and so growing up in that has informed so much of how I've built my business and run my business, and one way specific to culture is that there are a lot of business owners that say, like, "Oh, well, we're a family." And I'm like, "No. Like, that's not how I want my business run." Like, there are great things about my family business, and, there's good and bad, there's challenges, right?
Yeah.
But, like, it's really hard to fire family, you know? And I think that it's like we are a great team, and we have, like, expectations as a team, and we can be friends outside of work and whatever, but that's been one piece that has definitely defined my culture. Like, we are a high performing team. That's what we are. We are not and we care about each other. I mean, I'm a team sport athlete.
Mhm.
I played sports all through high school and college, and like, I am absolutely like, and team some of my best friends to this day are from my sports days and being on a team, right? And I think that but you can have expectations, and you can be very straightforward with your expectations, and I think when the family stuff comes into it, even if it's just like the proverbial, like, we're a family kind of thing in a business, like, I don't think that's healthy, so that's informed my culture. Um but not anything massive from previous jobs. I got into this it's and honestly, like, gosh, it was so long ago, that I got into
Yeah.
business, but, well,
Well,
there's
you're an
one
entrepreneurial kid. That's a big
Yeah,
factor because I
yeah,
also grew up in a house where, like, my dad owned a business, so, like, we saw things differently,
yeah,
right? Like, through
yeah.
much different lenses than a lot of other people did too. So that's a big variable with that as well.
Yeah, and I guess, like, one thing I would say is that it's really important to me, that's informed culture, is that I don't have expectations for people to work, like, 60 hours a week, ever. I really, really believe in quality time and home time and off time, and so that informs our culture. Like, I never have those expectations for anybody on the team,
Mm.
you know, and that's part of because of how I grew up, because my parents worked all the time, so that during that time, so that and because they needed to, so that informed now. So I guess, like, my first job is really with working for my parents at a country store has
Yeah.
probably had the biggest impact on my culture, than anything else.
I think it's funny too when people say, "Oh, our we're a family here." And I don't know, I think it's not a buzzword, it became like a buzz phrase, right? Like, you wanted your company to feel like a family, and, like, people just say that, and then they can actually just turn around and be, like, awful leaders in their business, but they're just saying it, like, to put it on a poster. But I think it probably had an origin of what you're describing is, like, we're a family here because family cares for each other, family looks out for each other, family always has your back. Those things can still be true and still not be a family, right? Like, what you're
Yeah,
describing, all of those, elements that what they're talking about when they say we're a family here, those are also true, like, in a sports team that you're thinking
totally.
about, or elite performing teams, people that just get stuff done. All of those elements still exist in there, but at the same time, like you said, it's really hard to fire family, or
Yeah.
and due to that, maybe you hold on to people much longer than you should, and it can actually hurt the team, the elite team that you're trying to build and, like, make happen. It actually hurts them in the long run. So I don't know. I love the idea of the saying that we're a family here, but not a legit family. I love that we're able to, like, pull familial traits and make people feel seen, feel heard, right? Because that's what a healthy family does too. Or,
Mhm.
like, yeah, I always have your back. I'm here for the best of you. That's what a healthy family does too. But it's not straight just we're a family, because we're not. Your family's your family. Your coworkers are your coworkers, right? But you can
Right.
still be kind and still not be a family at the same time.
Yeah, and I think you're 100% right. It's like pull the good elements, but not the, like, the families forever elements necessarily, you
Yeah.
know?
But I am not my employee's dad.
Right.
That's
Right.
not what I am.
Right.
Yeah.
No, totally,
Papa
totally.
Drew does not come to the office. Papa Drew is at home with Ellie and Jude.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Right.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, hey, another question I want to ask, and I think, man, you've done such a good job of, like, guessing probably what I'm going to bring up next.
Ooh.
What do they say? Like, you're stepping on my lines, like, you're stepping on my questions, and
That's
that's
just
the
a good
point, right?
podcast. That's a good
Yeah.
podcast, right?
Yeah, and, like, I mean, you have your own podcast too, so you're not new to this. But, like, if I were to be in a room with your frontline team, like, right now, and
Mhm.
ask them, "What is the culture like at your company?" What do you hope they'd say,
Oh,
and then
shit.
what do you think they'd actually say? I mean, by our conversations, I know the answer of what you'd hope they'd say,
Yeah, I mean, I'd
but,
hope
like,
that they say that
you and
they
your team.
yeah. I mean, I think that they would say that, I would hope that they would say, of course, that they feel like seen, heard, loved for their accomplishments and for their contributions to, like, the business as well as beyond, like, as humans, right? Like, and so, and that they are valuable and an integral part of Green Sweep and our company's growth. That would be, um, my hope for my leadership team for sure. And then I think that they would probably say they feel that. Honestly, like, and that is not always the case. That has not always been the case at my company by any means. And it wasn't until, I mean, really, I failed at this a little bit, a few years ago, and they definitely felt it. And, I thought, as business owners, we have to be really careful because, um, people often tell us what we want to hear, And
Mm.
we have to guard against this like so hard. And I still guard against it, and I still am like, okay, like, but and so my goal, and so I'll back up for a second. I ran into some major issues in my company a couple of years ago as a result of this. I thought we're doing great. Everyone feels seen. They're getting paid well. We're growing. We were growing like crazy. I wasn't in the day to day. I was like checking in with my manager who was like, everything's great. Everything's whatever. And I'm like, fantastic. Like it was awesome. Right. And I was like off riding my bike and traveling the world. And you know,
You can
and
hear like the record scratch sound
right.
effect about to happen. Let's
Right. Right. Right.
turns out it wasn't great. Yeah.
Exactly. It turns out, like, so literally, we're in Italy. My wife and I are in Italy, and we were the weather was not cooperating. We were trying to figure out what to do. We're gonna like pivot, and I get a call from my office from a new leader at my office who's with me to this day, thank God, a couple years later. And she's like, there's some shit going down with the manager. And like they showed up and this is what happened. And it was like, and I was like, what? And it was like completely, it was like a 180. And so it was like pretty wild stuff. I won't go down that road completely, but like I ended up on the phone with the attorney for the rest of the vacation. Like we almost canceled the trip and came home, and my team at the office was like, no, don't cancel your, like the cool people, the good people who are all still with me actually. They're like, don't cancel your trip. Like we'll figure this out. But we almost did and came and went home, and we worked it out, and I came home and and fired that particular manager, and I sat down with them and I was like, okay, like I thought we had like a relationship. I thought we had, like, I was talking to the remaining team members because they told me some of the stuff that had been going on for months that I was not aware of. And I was like, I thought we liked each other. I thought we got each other. I thought like, and they were like, well, yeah, but this was happening and this was happening. And they thought I knew all these things that were happening, and I had no knowledge of them happening. And so they made assumptions, about what I thought and how I was leading, because I wasn't as present as I needed to be. I was way too hands off. And I really think that my going back to what I said about people telling us what we want to hear, that happens a lot. And so for months, I was thinking everything's copacetic. And in the meantime, it was not copacetic. They were just telling me what I wanted to hear when I stopped in every 2 weeks to say hi, basically. I wasn't leading. I was abdicating. And I think that, and that was back when I was not in love with my company. And there were breakdowns happening then. And I think that we have to really guard against that. And I guard against that idea of people telling me what I want to hear versus because they have to because I'm the boss. Like I work so hard on that. Off all the time with my current team, because of course people want to please their boss, and there is an inherent power differential, right? But I really try to create a lot of safety with my leadership team. When I don't lead correctly, or I get mad about something, and it's not appropriate, I will loop back around, and I'll be like, dudes, like and I call them dudes sometimes, like, I am so sorry, like, like that was wrong of me, or this, and like, so I'm very transparent and authentic with how I'm leading them now, or if I'm feeling exhausted or like I need a break, I'm honest with them about that, like, so that they can see and I'll say, I'm trying this out. I'm trying to evolve my leadership. I'm trying out this new thing. How does this work? Like, I'm just super transparent, and it sounds like I'm like working all the time on it. I'm not working all the time on it. Like, I probably work in my cleaning business around or on it like 6 to 8 hours a week, I would say, like, which is really pretty great in my opinion. And for the size company we are and all of that. And so I don't know what your question was, Drew, but I'm gonna try to
I
land the
don't even know if
plane.
I said anymore. Oh no,
Oh, what would they say my
it was
culture
talking
is?
about like what your team would say. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they might tell me exactly what I wanna hear, but I think that is the case at this point in time because I have done so much work around that, and yeah, sorry, I just totally went off on a little bit of a tangent, but um, I do think it's really important and that we have to guard against that as business owners in particular, because people will.
You're 100% right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean that has happened probably to every business owner listening to this before, right?
yeah,
Like they're under the assumption they've gained it to a point where they have a number two or something like that, and they're hearing flowers and rainbows and unicorns, but then they dig in a little deeper and it's
yeah,
not flowers, rainbows, and unicorns, right?
yep.
There's more. The irony too, when you started that story where like the weather wasn't cooperating. So I see like these big thunder clouds
There
above your
were.
head and like, oh, it's
Yeah.
a sign, something's not right. It was like this omen of something back home this way. You're 100% right, and, like, it is finding those people that have the courage to be honest, right?
Yes.
And, like, I know you're saying this is something you're working on, and I guess I don't know, I didn't say this up front. I usually am very honest and transparent, like, Molly is absolutely a friend of mine, she's also a client of our company, and, like, I've seen this in you so many times between like personal and business things. Like you'll read me and you're like, "You okay?" Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're good at reading or like
Yeah.
you're like very honest and upfront when like something didn't hit your expectations the way it should have been and like
Yeah.
those are hard, right? And like I
Yeah.
think that that was hopefully a good lesson for that manager that it is so important to lean into those hard moments because nothing gets fixed. And when you let time go when things aren't great, it just compounds, compounds, compounds. Right.
Yeah.
And I hopefully that was a lesson for them and maybe they took that on to another position and they've can be better at that. But like that is something you are great at is leaning into
Thanks.
hard and
Well
uncomfortable moments to fix it.
well, and that's I mean, the discomfort is where the growth happens, right? And, like, you get to choose your
Yeah.
choose your discomfort at this point, but, like, it's if you're gonna be growing as a business owner and growing as an entrepreneur and as a person, then it will be uncomfortable, so I like to choose it, and I'm gonna definitely choose it in my business if it's gonna make other people better, make the company better, make me better, and I'll say, during that time when that happened, I was like, "Oh, crap," and I was not psyched about having to get back into things, and, I've made this mistake more than once. I've had that manager, and I've had that a couple of times, and I think that there's a fallacy, in the home service industry, that you can get to 1.5 million or 2 million or 3 million, and you can just be like, "Cool, somebody else is gonna run it." And listen, I've been a part of perpetuating that fallacy at times as well because I thought I could do it. And when I was doing it, I had managers that were doing insane things behind my back, right? And so I'm like, okay, like I would much rather be like where we are. Like I'd much rather be a $3 million business and work with 20% margins, do the math, and me lead my team 6 to 8 hours a week. That's pretty then rather than and having people feeling good and performing well. And we're going to Top Golf next weekend and whatever it might be, together as a team or whatever and having fun. Like I would much rather that, like, because why not so why not do that rather than just abdicate and have somebody else do it entirely? So for me, the key in that or the fork in the road, which is not about culture, but more about my leadership was like deciding like, well, I do love Green Sweep. Why wouldn't I want to have anything to do with it?
Mm.
Like Green Sweep is pretty awesome. And the people that work at Green Sweep are fucking, excuse my language, I don't know if that's allowed, but they are awesome people. They are awesome humans, right? And so it's like, well, why would I just brush it? Why would I just hand it over to somebody else who can't lead the way I can lead for 5 hours a week of my leadership, like I can delegate everything else, but I can't delegate that piece at this point in time. Like maybe when we're bigger, maybe, but I have like literally zero even thought or interest in doing that at this point in time or in any time in the near future. I love my company too much. So yeah.
You're talking about that fallacy when you get to a certain level, you can, just go live on an island somewhere,
Right.
right? We recently just turned 10 years old, and there was all
Nice.
that in the same world too, right? Where it's like,
Mhm.
oh, when you hit 10, you're golden. You don't have to worry about anything. You've made it.
Right.
No, it's not true. And like we had like a little 10-year anniversary party, and I'm like, guys, we're gonna have to earn the next 10 too. Like this is not something that we got to 10 and we're good. Every
Right.
year from here on out until the end of time, like we got to earn it still.
Right.
Like nothing just comes to you because your existence past a certain time, like
No.
milestone, or the
No.
same time you were saying, like nothing gets handed to you because you hit a certain top line revenue mark.
Right.
Like that's not how that works.
Right. Right.
Next question I have, is, and this goes with what we're talking about again, like growing and scaling and the culture of your business when it was like you and two other people, then how do we keep that going? But at the same time, as that owner does step away and maybe focuses on other projects like you have with Live Bright, or maybe like other business ventures and things like that, what's a habit that you have, or maybe a habit that you practice that keeps you aligned as that leader for Green Sweep? Like, as you're in there 6 to 8 hours a week, how do you stay aligned with what that culture is? To where when you are in there for 6 to 8 hours a week, or maybe, heavier weeks or 10, 15, or something like that, how do you
No.
stay aligned, not being day to day in it?
Yeah. So as you said, 6 to 8, I'm like, I don't even know if it's that much right now, to be honest, which is pretty awesome. But, so a couple things. So for me as a leader, as a human, just as a spouse, as a sister, like as a human, uh, at this point in my life, it's really important for me to have I have a set of daily sort of practices that ground me and make me feel good and make me feel connected and aligned, like you're saying. So I have through the Live Bright program, I have this thing called the Daily Shine Protocol, and it's a set of small, tiny habits that keep me moving forward. And the S in the Daily Shine is for space. And space could be for meditation, it could be for journaling, it could be for breathing exercises, walking in the woods, whatever. So every single day I take space, and that space is I'm not consuming anybody else's content. I'm not listening to a book or reading. I am just connecting with myself in that space. And that practice is probably one of the most powerful things I can do as the leader for myself personally, but also as a leader of Green Sweep. So, in terms of habits or routines specific to Green Sweep, I have cadences. I wouldn't say they're habits, but we have certain meetings set. Like we have 3 meetings a week actually, with the leadership team that I participate in. And so, and that's how I stay connected to them. I know what's going on. We can engage. We can find out what's going on. 2 of them we call them woo meetings because I'm kind of a woo girl. Where we have the woo actually stands for something. The W is for like you share either a win or a wise. So something that you have learned or that you want to celebrate.
Mm.
Yep. You share your one focus for the day and your one big focus for the week. So that's our woo meeting, and we woo and there's like an energetic thing that happens in there, like that and the whole chemical release and wiring in new stuff. Like we do all that
Yeah.
and we bring the energy up. We talk about the energy bus. I'm sure you've read that book. But we talk about that in our office and supporting each other and bringing one another up. So those are the sort of that's like our cadence or my rhythm with the company from a leadership standpoint that I do. And so we have our 2 woo meetings. Those are like 15-minute meetings. They're on Zoom. We have our level 10 meeting. That's often on Zoom because I'm often whatever, or if I'm around, like I'll stop in and we'll do it. And sometimes we just skip it and we have lunch together because everyone's in the loop with what's going on anyway. So, and that's
Mm.
1.5, that's like 2 hours a week of meeting time. I have another one with like my head leader in the office for an hour a week that we have set. And then, so those are the habits or whatever, the rhythms of my leadership at Green
Yeah.
Sweep that keep me connected to the culture and to everything else.
Yeah, the rituals, right?
Yeah.
Consistent, rhythms or rituals that you are still a part of.
Yeah. And if I'm on a plane or
Gotcha.
I'm on a boat or I'm somewhere where I'm like, Like they woo without me. They woo and they level 10 without me. They are rhythms of the company. And then they let me know what's going on in our group communication channel, which is Slack.
Love it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, one of the last questions I have, I always wanted this podcast to be something like very practical, right? Like, I mean, I think somebody's going to listen to this conversation today and like maybe have some motivation or encouragement to go uh, work on their company culture and their home service business. But I also want to provide this something that's just really practical. So if you were maybe this is something you would tell your coaching clients or just a friend of yours who owns a home service business, what is like one thing they could probably take away today and go implement it in like 15 minutes or less in their company that is like no brainer will help your culture be like stronger inside the home service business?
I would well, 15 minutes or less for implementation, Drew. That's a rough one, but I would say, I mean, I would say the fastest thing. I would actually recommend Carrot. And it's K. It's sorry, it's
Mm.
Qarrot, and it's an app, and
And that's
there's
the Slack tool, right?
it's not it integrates with Slack, but it's a separate app altogether, and that could have an immediate effect on your team. You can get signed up for Carrot super fast, and I don't make any money off of you getting signed up for Carrot, but like you get signed up for Carrot, you get your team members on there, you preload them with some coins, and then they can like start appreciating one another really quickly and easily. That would be like the fastest takeaway I can think of, because implementation takes time. It really does take time. Another, I always recommend people read to really nail down the sort of the idea around appreciation in the workplace and that's about being seen. There's the 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace. It's a book. Obviously, it's more than 15 minutes, but it'll do a much better job than I did today clarifying just how important that is from a research place about how to create that culture in your workplace.
Love it. Very cool. Yeah. Maybe the 15 minutes is buy the book. Then you got to read
Yeah,
it.
buy the
Go buy the
book.
book.
Buy the book,
So
yeah.
that's the connection of like the 5 love languages, but it's the 5 appreciation languages for the
It
workplace, right? Like that's the
exactly.
connection.
It is.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. I'm sure you've read it. Yeah, it's a great one. It's a great one. Like, physical touch is a tougher one in the workplace. You gotta be really careful with that language in the
Yeah.
workplace.
Like that was always a joke. When I first started the agency, Erin was not full time in yet, my wife. And I had a conversation about like love languages got brought up and like then we got to the same point, like how do I make sure my employees feel appreciated? And like my number two at the time, my ops person, hers was like quality time. So I'm like, Pam, which was her name, like, Pam, I don't know what to do here. I don't know how do I make like spend quality time with you without it just getting weird? It's this. So yeah, so that book helps out give like actual work situations
It
where it's
does.
not weird,
Right.
but people still feel appreciated, seen, and heard.
Yeah, they do. They do. That's definitely that was a huge part of the light bulb moment for me with how to systemize culture at my and that's why we have the Arrow
Yeah.
program. And anyway, yeah.
Which, by the way, for that situation, the loophole we found for her was we actually booked a secret spa day with her and her best friend so they could spend quality time together. But the company is the one who like set the table for that. So like that was the loophole we found.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So
Smart.
we sent her to the spa, and then her best friend just happened to be there when she got there, and it was like this long like couple spa day thing they got to do together. So
Oh, that's really good. That's next
okay.
level.
Hey, that's all I got today. Those are the questions I had. A lot of the questions I asked today were not on my notes. It just came from like what we were jamming about. Thank you for being here. Thank you for dropping your like such good nuggets of what company culture is and can be inside of a home service business. And thanks for being vulnerable, telling stories about where like things weren't great and how you've learned from them. I think that's so valuable. But just thank you for sharing your heart for leadership and people in this conversation. I really appreciate it. So, where can folks find out more about you, about the Live Bright coaching program, and just more about how to connect with you? How do they do that?
Best bet is, my website is mollymoran.com. So MollymOran.com. Or I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, and I'm at, it's like at Molly Moran Live, is my sort of handle, and it's a picture of me with a big love t-shirt, hard to miss. So I'm there. And Drew, thanks so much for having me. It was really fun. It's just fun to like, it's also just fun to reflect on some of the lessons and like the insanity of 16 years in business and the things I've learned. And I'm always happy to share those stories. And if my mistakes can help somebody else, then please like just use them, So thank you, Drew.
I love it. Yep. Well, you've been hosting your own podcast for a while that like it's a different thing being in the seat that's not being you're being interviewed compared to being the one who's interviewing, right? It's a whole different
Yeah.
thing. So
It's a whole different
it
thing.
always
Yeah.
is fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It
Yeah.
is fun.
Well,
Thanks.
thank you guys for watching. Thank you for watching this next episode or this new episode of the Five Door Media podcast. Guys, this season of the podcast is shaping up to be my favorite. I mean, I don't want to pick favorites, but like this might be it. So stay tuned. We've got much more episodes on the topic of culture in your home service businesses. We've got more great guests coming from all the way across the country to give their insights, to tell their stories like Molly did today, to help you level up your home service business in the area of company culture. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.